Hi everyone, this is Joaquin Garcia with Native Instruments. I hope you're doing fantastic and ready to celebrate life making music with MASCHINE MKII. I'm running the software version 2.3 and I like to share with you a performance to start. Then I will follow up creating a new project in detail as well as reviewing right after it the whole browsing feature of the MASCHINE file structure. Let's get started. With this in mind, let's start a new project. In order to start, first I'm going to create a new scene, so that is the first section of my song. Let's start. First I'm going to press Scene. I'm going to select the first available path. Once it's lit, that means that it's ready for me to load a new pattern. In this case, I'm going to start with a pattern using my kick drum. I'm going to press Group H. Once it is selected, I'm going to press Pad Mode. In this case, I still have the keyboard view, which is enabled with button number 2. I'm going to press button number 2. And now I'm going to be looking at my pattern by pressing Pattern. In this case, I'm ready to start a new pattern by pressing pad number 15. And then I'm going to press Step Mode. In this case, the light is telling me the timeline. The quarter note is on every beat. And now I'm going to share with you something very fundamental. I have a fixed velocity of 127, which means that if I press it very hard or very soft, I will still get the very same loudness, emphasis, and level. Let's start. Now you feel this beat, but what if I rather like to feel the pulse in my heart and set that as my tempo? In this case, I'm not going to look at the light. I'm just going to do the snapping of my beat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And now I just set the tempo, the pulse, where I'm going to be bouncing my head to. In this case, I'm going to take advantage of this moment for me to share with you what I just did. You press Shift first, and then you press the note repeat button, which enables the tapping functionality, which I just tap my tempo. Make sure you always tap to the quarter note, okay? Now, what I'm going to follow up with is with the very same kick drum I started with. And now that I'm feeling this pulse, at 105 beats per minute, I'm going to start adding snare. My snare lives within group A. And then, in order for me to see it, I need to make sure I press pad mode. And then I will disable keyboard view. I'm going to select now my snare, but before I select it, I'm going to make sure I have a new pattern for my snare, which is on group A. First, I'm going to press pattern. I'm going to use button number 8 until I see an empty slot for me to load my new pattern. Now, I'm going to continue by going back to pad mode. Time to select my snare. And now, I'm going to select step mode. And I'm going to sequence my snare with an Afro beat. Now, I'm going to add a hi-hat. In this case, I'm going to take advantage that I have a hi-hat already loaded onto pad number 6, which I'm going to unmute. And you can hear it now. I'm going to press step mode now. And I'm going to use again a fixed velocity of 127 for beat 1 and 3. Of course, these are the up beats. And now I'm going to add the end up beats for beat 2 and 4. But I'm going to share with you this. I'm going to lower the velocity to 114 to have some sort of dynamic. This hi-hat now is a little bit friendlier. Now I'm going to add more cowbell. In this case, we are going to browse for it together. In order to do this, first I need to press pad mode. And I need to select a new empty slot. Now I have selected that I'm going to do this within pad number 2 of group A. In this case, I'm going to continue by pressing browse. And now I'm going to search for my cowbell within the main file path known as samples. Once I'm in samples, I'm going to use the button pages to have the word types. Once I see types, I'm going to turn rotary knob number 1 until it displays the word drums. Then I'm going to use rotary knob number 2 to show the word percussion. And then I'm going to use rotary knob number 3 to show me the word cowbell. And then I wanna share with you that the right display of machine gives you the results of such filters used. In this case, I'm going to turn rotary knob number 5 all the way until I see the word cowbell door hang. That's it. Now I'm going to press button number 8 to load. Now that it has been loaded, I'm going to sequence a pattern for my cowbell to talk. I'm going to press step, and then I'm going to make sure my velocity is at 100. Supporting that kick drum. Now I'm going to make another additional cowbell pattern, but at 115 velocity. In this case, I'm supporting the Afro beat. 1 and 3 and 1 and 3 and. Let's add more cowbell. This time I'm going to add it on the end of 3 at a different accented velocity. So let's go up to 122. this in mind, I would like to add a chord progression. In this case, I'm going to search for a piano. Let's start. The very first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to search for a new group. In order to do this, I'm going to press Shift because you can see all of these have been used. I'm going to press Group of Batch number 2, and I'm going to select Group H. In this case, this is group number 16. Now, I'm going to make sure I create a pattern. Now pattern is pre-selected for pattern number 1 of what in the future is going to become my keyboard pattern. In this case, I'm going to make sure the length of my pattern is 4 bars by turning rotary knob number 1. It says length. That's the total length, the number of bars. Now, I'm going to follow up by lowering a little bit my master volume so that I can speak to you more fluently. In this case, in order to do this, I'm going to press Control. And master is selected. I'm going to use rotary knob number 2 to do it in a very tasteful manner. This is very resourceful as you are composing and creating your mix. You could also use the master section by pressing volume and then turning this knob. These increments are a little larger in case you want to take dramatic decisions, but in this case, I like to do it tastefully with this rotary knob number 2. Now, it's time for me to browse with you and load that piano. Now I'm going to press Browse, and I'm going to use the main filter for the word instruments. Now I'm going to use rotary knob number 1 until I see the word piano/keys. As this loads, I like to listen carefully to what my mix is sounding like. With a second filter, I'm going to choose digital piano. And with a third filter, I'm going to choose sample bass. All of this is in alphabetical order. As I find this, I like to share with you that these filters are tags. These tags are very important because they are like adjectives. Let's say bass long release, bass short release, distorted bass. I want you to think of these filters as adjectives that qualify the sample, the sound, the instrument, the effect. And you can also add your very own tags with the edit option. Let's get started loading the piano. With rotary knob number 5, I'm going to select electric grand. Once it's highlighted, I'm pressing load with button number 8. Now I can test my sound. You heard it. But I want to play a chord, not only a single note. So I'm going to show you a great feature of Maschine version 2.3. I'm going to get out of browse mode. And then I'm going to press path mode. I'm going to follow by pressing button number 2 to have keyboard view. You can verify this by looking at the right display. It has C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, and G. In this case, I still have a chromatic scale. Let's turn it into a chord per path by turning rotary knob number 3. Now it's displaying chord set. That's exactly what I need. Now with rotary knob number 4, I'm going to turn it until it displays the word minor 3. Perfect. So in order to continue, I want to start my song instead of C, I want to start it on G minor. So I'm going to show you this. With button number 7, you can go chromatically down, and with button number 8, you can go chromatically up. G minor, B flat major, C major. Nice options, right? So now I'm ready to record, and I did create my pattern of 4 bars long. So I'm going to look at my timeline, which is displayed right below the button number 4, which is for duplicating, but below you can see the timeline telling you when is the beginning of the bar. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you hear there's a detail at the end, which I'm going to fix by quantizing. In order to quantize, you need to press Shift and press path number 5 to quantize. If you wanna partially quantize, we have also the ability to press quantize at 50%. It's very detailed and it makes it very clean. Now that I have my harmony, I'm going to support it with a bass line. Let's load the bass into a new group. In order to do this, I'm going to look for the next available group. In this case, is batch number 3 on group A. Now, in order to proceed, I'm going to make sure that my path and pattern are already set to 4 bars. Boom! My pattern is 4 bars long to comply with the bass line and the harmony and have a full phrase that fits my chord progression. Let's get started. I'm going to press pad mode. I'm going to press button number 2 for keyboard. And again, I'm going to go chromatically down to start on G. I have G2 right here. And now I'm going to load my bass. I'm going to press browse. I'm going to search with rotary knob number 1 within instruments and types for the word bass. So I need to go counterclockwise. That's it. Now I'm going to look for finger bass. That's it. Now it is already set for sample bass with filter number 3, rotary knob number 3, and it's already selecting classic bass. Let's load it with button number 8. Now I'm going to get out of browse mode. I'm going to press pad mode, and I'm going to look at my notes. In this case, this is G, this is G sharp, this is A, and this is A sharp, which means it is still chromatically. So I'm going to change this whole chromatic scale to be a minor scale by turning rotary knob number 1 to say minor. Now I'm ready to record my bass, but let me practice with you so we can test the sound level. Very low. So now I'm going to show you how to raise the volume of that sound of this instrument. I'm going to press Control. Then I'm going to press Channel. And then I'm going to press Sound. Now I'm going to turn my volume up by 8.3 decibels above the gain that it was set at. Let's get started. You just saw me quantizing again to make sure it snaps to the grid. The grid can be defined with a grid button for performance, for patterns, and step, which are displayed on the right display. I'm feeling this. So now, let's have a jam with the melody. In order to do this, first I'm going to lower the volume of the master so that I can share with you the process of loading a new melodic idea. In this case, I'm going to load it to group B. Then I'm going to press Browse. And in this case, I'm going to look for a lead. Let's search for it. First, I can try having something that inspires my soul. So first I'm going to look for instruments. So I'm going to go back until I display the word instruments. Let me see. You know what? I think what I'm looking for is within sounds. So instead of using instruments, I'm going to use the main filter called sounds, which I'm going to cover right after this jam. I'm going to look for the word instruments within sounds. Then I'm going to look for the word lead. And then I'm going to look for the word sample bass. Or you know what? Let's take dirty. I like that adjective. And I like the bounce. Let's load it. Now that I have loaded my new instrument, let's get started by making sure it's on the chromatic scale starting on G. I'm going to first go to control mode. Then I'm going to press pad mode. Then I'm going to press keyboard view. Then I'm going to transpose this note to start on G, and then I'm going to make a minor scale. Perfect. These lit or brighter pads means that is a perfect octave. Now I'm going to crank up the volume so we can have fun. In order to do this, I'm going to press Control. Then I'm going to raise my master. Let me test my sound. Here we go. how I build a project. Now, let's get started with a very detailed review of the whole browsing feature within Maschine. In order to start, let me lower the volume first of the master by pressing button number 1. Let's continue. I think that you should first remember there are 6 main file paths of the file structure. Let's go over them. First one, you do have projects, which is a song. Then you do have groups, which is a group of 16 instruments. In this case, they can be single one-shots or even loops. Then you do have sounds, the future of sounds, native instrument. I want you to think of sounds because they are very special. Sounds are plugins that are aligned in a series that it can be unlimited. You can have a bass instrument from Massive, and then you can add a phaser, you can add a distortion, you can add anything, any kind of effect you want. And all of these effects are plugins. So I want you to think of a signal flow that keeps being modified to your taste. Then I wanna make sure I review with you instruments, which is the 4th category, and effects, which is a 5th category, together with sounds, because they are all very related. In this case, is because they are plugins. And I want you to think that sounds borrow from the instruments and from the effects. Because as I said, a sound is a linear amount of plugins, one after the other. In this case, an instrument plugin, and then an effects plugin, and another effects plugin such as a compressor. And the very best way for you to browse for them is divided into types. You do have products and you do have types. In this case, when you press browse, you see that it says types right now. If you press page, you see product. And once again, you go back to types. Those 2 main categories are for you to find it in the fastest way. So let's say you want an instrument, but you do know the product. We do know Monarch. In this case, you can find, let's find Monarch, let's do it together. I'm going to press instruments, I'm going to press product, and I'm going to scroll down until I display Monarch. I'm seeing battery, FM8, contact, machine, which is internal, massive, Monarch. There you go. And then we have the tags that I mentioned, which are to define certain details. Within product, you do not see these subtypes. You will see them within types. But within product, the new name are going to be displayed on the right display for you to load a preset. In this case, I want to conclude with the last sample bass filter, which you find it all the way to the end by pressing button number 2. Samples, I want you to think of them as WAV files and AIFF, because they can be sample based, which you can sample your very own, and they can also be loops, and they can be also borrowed from your own personal libraries. So with this in mind, I want you to have fun with Maschine and take advantage of this instrument that is for you to compose, to perform, and be happy. Thank you very much. This is Joaquin Garcia with Native Instruments. Bye-bye.